Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Well, live, it's Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso for this Thursday night edition, July 13th, 2024. Thanks for tuning in, my friends, and thank you always for tuning in. On my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, like, comment, and subscribe. At String Punk Media and Entertainment, like, comment, and subscribe. Facebook, we're also there. My page, Keep It in the Ring, and Jabronis United. I want you to like, comment, and subscribe, my friends. As always, we keep it in the ring. And at the bottom of the screen, the upcoming fight schedule of importance the next few weeks as we get into the summer of boxing, MMA, and wrestling, and so forth. The boxing schedule of important fights coming up in the next few weeks. Boxing calendar will take a little breather of major fights until September. The summer always works that way. And, of course, my social media handles throughout the hour ahead, scrolled at the bottom of the screen. X, formerly Twitter. That's me, Rich Mancuso. Ring 786 and Facebook.com. Rich Mancuso. Get to me. I'll get back to you as I do to most of you, if not all, when you do with your comments. Thanks for your continued support at Keep It in the Ring. Your home for combat sports here live on Thursday night, as always. My great producer behind the scenes, Scott Churston. He'll join us later. And he's behind the scenes, as always, doing the great job putting up with me, as you do always, my friends. And thank you again. But let's get to it. Enough of this and that. Let's look at the week ahead. We're going to do that this hour because there is a significant fight show. We're going to talk more about that in a little while. And down in Philadelphia, another homecoming for Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn, the promoter, this time with Jaron Boots Ennis, the welterweight champ, IBF. We'll talk about that in a moment. And with Peter Dobson, the co-main event. Some fireworks already at the final press conference down there in Philadelphia earlier today. Let's go look at this guy, Shakur Stevenson, this past weekend. And the questions about Shakur Stevenson, is he a top 10 pound for pound or top 5 or top 3? Well, where is he headed? We'll talk about that. He retained the WBC lightweight portion of that title among the alphabet soup organizations. The 12-round unanimous decision on Saturday night on ESPN against our team at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, where he is from, where fans walked out before the end of the fight, where Shakur said they walked out because of his opponent, not him, though this was Shakur Stevenson with the unanimous decision, but still not with the knockout. And that has everybody questioning, where did Shakur go? We'll get to that thought in a moment. Shakur Stevenson retains the title. Yes, he is indeed a top superstar, maybe in the pound-for-pound discussion. Also, the questions again after the fight. His last one under the top-ranked boxing banner. Will he stay with Top Rank or move on elsewhere, become a coveted free agent in the sport, do what he wants like Canelo Alvarez does? Or does he re-sign with Top Rank, who wants him back and are offering him something good from last I heard? Or does Eddie Hearn and Matchroom take him? Eddie Hearn is making his pitch. Down in Philadelphia today, Eddie Hearn said that Shakur Stevenson is a top boxing superstar and he will do wonders with him. And he said Shakur sells out arenas, but that's not entirely true. Only 8,000 in the Prudential Center of his homecoming, where they could fit about 15,000 for boxing. Regardless, Shakur Stevenson is a draw. Shakur Stevenson might not be as exciting as he was in his last 2 fights. Even against Akeem, he used his defense, speed, and skills, but not the knockout. 119, 109, 118, 110, 116, 112. The punch stats showed that he landed 44% of his power punches that gave him the win. 66% of those punches landed. So, Shakur Stevenson wins as he was expected to do, but he didn't get the knockout. So where does he go from here? All right. His second fight, though, that didn't go knockout, that went the distance, was not the knockout and was not an exciting fight. Let's face it. Yeah, Shakur was the dominant fighter. He said about the fans leaving the arena again, it wasn't him. It was because of his opponent, Akeem, that made it more boring than what it might have seemed. And he said next time he has to cut off the ring better. He says there's still need for improvement. And the boos, again, were not for him, but for his opponent, our team. And he said he will step aside, okay, and look at his options. What are his options next? Well, here we go. Who does Shakur Stevenson fight next? Still undefeated. Top lightweight in the world among the lightweights. Has a part of those titles of the Alphabet Soup organization. Gervontay Davis is always being talked about. Would be a mega fight for the sport. Gervontay Davis at 140, Shakur at 135, could move up to 140. I don't think Gervontay would surrender his titles and go back to 135. However, that's a fight boxing would love to see. A mega fight, a pay-per-view fight, two of the top young superstars in the sport that offer a lot. Based on what Shakur has done his last two fights, though, you see Gervontay is a definitely winner, whether it be a 135 or 140. Well, Lomachenko, who's a part of the lightweight title mix, or even at 140 rather, said he stepped aside, all right, for a Shakur fight against Gervontay Davis. You know, Gervontay and Lomachenko is being talked about. It could happen early next year. But Lomachenko, a former champion at lightweight, who's still a big part of this, said that he would step aside so that Shakur Stevenson and Gervontay Davis could get it together, which would be a mega fight. So credit to Lomachenko for doing that, willing to step aside. But remember, Lomachenko is still a part of the title mix. And so, where will this go? That remains the question. In the weeks and months ahead, we don't know where Shakur Stevenson is headed right now, and we still don't know what Gervontay Davis's next move is. Whatever it is, if these two get in the ring, sign this fight, it would be a mega fight for the sport at some point next year. I believe if Shakur re-signs with Top Rank, or even with Matchroom, this fight could be made. It's a question, though, of where Shakur Stevenson goes next. Does he stay with Top Rank, their homegrown fighter who he's been with from the beginning, or does he go to the Zone and Matchroom Boxing with Eddie Hearn? What are your thoughts, fans? Comment. Let me know here at Keep It in the Ring. Like, also comment, and subscribe. So interesting developments with Shakur Stevenson, who comes up with his second win without a knockout, but still in the driver's seat for what he wants. Okay. Now, I'm going to vent, and I'm sure a lot of boxing fans did, because Shakur Foster said they stole the title from him, and sure they did. Co-main event on that Top-Rank ESPN card from the Prudential Center in New Jersey. This guy, Robson Canseco, is the new WBC super featherweight champion. A split unanimous decision, yet forced to outwork Canseco from the beginning to the end of this fight. Yet the judges went this way, seen from the punch stats: 116, 112, 115, 113 for Canseco. I don't know what that judge was thinking. And again, another 116, 112. Outrageous decision. 3 blind mice at ringside. The judges, as I say, Forster said they stole the title from him. I agree. The boxing world agreed to that. And let's face it, there should be a rematch. We don't know if there will be. Canseco was landing 11% more of his power punches. Good enough for the win. Rather, Forster did. But the judges, this one judge in particular, thought otherwise. And that 115, 113 score for Canseco was a farce. It was outrageous. It was a travesty. Why more and more I call for reform in the sport. We need better reform. And a case, again, with judges who continually make these type of botched decisions. A subjective sport as boxing is, yes, this is going to happen. But when it happens like this, there needs to be that call for reform. And my friends and boxing fans all over the world agree. This was a title that they took from O'Shaquie Foster, who was a deserving champion and should have been again and retained it. Yet, because there's no reform in this sport, in one way, the judges that we have are incompetent. The way to resolve this again, as I keep saying and advocating time and time again, and you can read my brief piece on latinosports.com where I give my analysis and explanation about this. You need a national boxing commission. You need better unity with the promoters. You need better unity with these alphabet sanctioning organizations. And if you have boxing reform with a national boxing commission, perhaps, and I say perhaps, it doesn't mean it's going to work in its totality of being perfect, but perhaps we'll have better judges at ringside. I've always said the best judges to judge a fight, and I get the argument on the other end, they wouldn't be partial. They may favor one fighter over another. That perhaps former fighters should be the judges at ringside. Who better than them know about the sport? Many also have been on this side of the ring or this side of the decision ledger where they have been robbed like O'Shaquie Foster was. There needs to be reform. That's what it comes down to. And for this young man, O'Shaquie Foster, it's not the end. He will come back from this. He'll get redemption some way or another. However, boxers and every fighter I talk to will say the same thing. I need to go for the knockout. See, if you have a decisive knockout, you don't have to go to the three blind mice. It's obvious. I feel for you, O'Shaquie Foster. The boxing world and all the fans do as well. Rival promoters felt the same way about this. Disgusting decision. He will get redemption one day. He'll think about it. He'll come back. Don't know if he's going to come back at super featherweight. We'll see. But he will come back and be a champion again. Something like this that was so outrageous will make him even stronger. Moving on, undefeated Mexican lightweight William Zepeda, who's in the picture, third-round knockout over Giovanni Cabrera, Golden Boy Promotions over the weekend. He worked the inside, had the better punches. Zapata remained undefeated, 31-0, 27 knockouts. He's in the mix, rated number one among all those alphabet soup organizations. So we'll see where Zapata's next as he gets the win on the Golden Boy show. All right. Did you see this on pay-per-view over the weekend? Again, we had more than one boxing show at the same time. Outrageous, but this one was on pay-per-view if you went for the price, because Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal had their last standing boxing match, not in the octagon. They met in the octagon before, a few years ago, and that went to Masvidal. And now they decided, let's do this in the ring and be pro fighters. Diaz has that experience before. Well, Diaz gets the win. Got his redemption. So now it's 1-1, last man standing. 98-92, 97-93, 95-95. I really didn't care who won this fight. It was just the last man standing type of affair. But then afterwards, they brawled after the fight. Masvidal and Diaz people went at it. It was an ugly scene. I don't even want to show it to you if you saw it on social media. But it was hardly a fight anyway. They hardly banged each other. It was dull. And even the referee of this fight, look at this referee. What was he doing? In the corner most of the time, looked like an undertaker, not a referee. Absolutely doing nothing, just bending down once in a while. That's the type of fight this was, boring. And that's the type of referee he was, boring, not involved in the action at all. And possibly because Diaz and Masvidal did nothing. The punches weren't strong, maybe one or two of them at the most. The broadcast was great because my buddy Mauro Ronaldo was the main lead commentator on this. And Sean Porter, too, Showtime Sean Porter. But, they're going to probably do it again because they're at 1-1 now. Masinov wins it in the octagon. Diaz, the high-sprung guy, wins it in the boxing ring. Dull fight, over with. This guy's never dull, though, because you saw this, if you caught it like I did. Ryann Garcia was there. And he escorted his brother, his younger brother Sean, into the ring. Fight with Amano Vargas, family feud. Two families. The son of Fernando Vargas, the great boxing legend, and got the 6th round win by KO. But you know what? There's Ryann Garcia. What was he doing there? He's in Mexico now. And yet he tweeted this after the fight. Scott, roll that up a little bit. He said he skipped rehab to be at this fight. Well, now he's in Mexico. He needs to go to rehab. He said he's committed to do it, but he wasn't there, obviously. He was in the ring. He escorted his brother in the ring. He didn't get in the ring. He escorted his brother in the ring. And then he said that he wasn't thrown out, escorted out. He left on his own. They escorted him out of the arena. Yet he claims he wasn't escorted out. He said he left. You never believe Ryann Garcia. But first of all, he said he was going to be in rehab, and as of now, he's still not in rehab. Having a good time in Hawaii. Talking about fighting someone somewhere with the suspension in hand for a year. But Ryann Garcia, once again, the social media maven, Ryann Garcia, once again, the center of attention. He had to show his face instead of being in rehab where he belongs. And I don't know when I'm going to stop ranting about Ryann Garcia, and I don't know when we're going to stop talking about Ryann Garcia. But as long as he keeps, he didn't tweet anything today. I didn't see much. In the last 18 hours, he's been quiet. He's in Mexico, so he said maybe he doesn't have internet service, or maybe he went to rehab. You don't know. You don't know with Ryann Garcia. Okay. All right. And on that same card, and the semi-main event as well, was the Miracle Man, Danny Jacobs, a 2-time champ. Why is he continuing to fight? It has nothing to prove. He's got plenty of money. But Miracle Man Danny Jacobs got back in the ring. Shane Mosley Jr., the son of Sugar Shane Mosley, the Hall of Famer. Easy, unanimous decision of 10 rounds, super middleweight division. Mosley pressed Jacobs. Mosley is 37. Jacobs is 37-5, 30 knockouts. No need for him to continue. All he's waiting for is the Hall of Fame to call him. That's it. Yet he went in the ring again and didn't proved nothing. Why? Another payday? Mosley outmanned him all around for 10 rounds. Danny Miracle Man Jacobs from Brooklyn, New York, who I have a lot of respect for, the cancer survivor, the comeback story, did a lot. The message went out, became a 2-time champion, didn't have no more left, said that was it, yet he comes back again. Fighters, get the message. The skills are gone. You retired. You don't need to hear the crowd again. If it's for a payday, you're risking injury. And I hope Danny Miracle Man Jacobs, as he says, will not go back in the ring and contend for something because he has nothing left. I have a lot of respect for him as well. Don't want him to get hurt. This guy in Philadelphia this weekend is the future of the sport among some of the many others. And we're talking about Jared Boots Ennis, who's got the opportunity now to even advance his career some more. The IBF welterweight champion, 31-0, 28 knockouts, versus Abyssinian this weekend, Wells Fargo Center, Philadelphia, homecoming, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn. Homecoming fights have not been good for Matchroom as of late. Regis Prograis in New Orleans didn't go well, and in Puerto Rico for Mateus. All Matchroom fighters, all on the zone, did not do well. Think this is going to end up differently, though it's going to be a very interesting, tough fight for Ennis. All right, because Abyssinian has been in there. He's been idle. Last fight, Terrence Crawford in 2022, and he lost to Terrence Crawford, then gave Crawford a fight. But Boots Ennis, he's tough. 4 of his last fights have ended in a knockout. He's now where he wants to be. title fights, and he's home in Philadelphia. I could see him winning this fight within 8 rounds by stoppage. However, Ennis and his people say it's going to end in 4. There is kind of little animosity here about back and forth, social media with the two of them, once again playing a role here. But I expect Boots Ennis to win and win it within 8 rounds, maybe sooner, and retain that IBF welterweight championship and then move on. 147, as I keep telling you, just like 135 and 140, still a dominant division in the sport. And this young man, Gerard Boots Ennis from Philadelphia with the homecoming fight, is one of the reasons why that division still really strong. And to see what he does after this fight Saturday night, we'll find out what his next move is. Maybe unify these titles at 147 that once was unified. And again, unifying titles in boxing is as difficult as getting to meet the Pope in Rome. And then we have Peter Dobson, a guy I know real well from the Bronx, New York, who's on his own. And he's a good promoter of himself. He knows how to sell tickets. He knows how to fight. Coming back, I wanted him on the program this week. Couldn't get him. Co-main event to this fight Saturday night in Philly at the Wells Fargo Center. He lost to Conor Benn his last fight. Everyone thought that Peter Dobson was not going to last in that fight, but he gave Conor Benn a good 12 rounds. Jaggle Harrett, 10 rounds in the welterweight division. That comes Saturday night. These two can't stand each other. Today, Dobson mouthed it off at the press conference in Philly, and Haggett and him at the face-off, and I expect them to be even worse at the weigh-in. They had to be separated. Dobson and him, they traded a couple of punches almost to each other, but this is going to be a brawl. Peter Dobson wants to win. Peter Dobson feels that he is a contender after taking Conor Benn to the limit. And you know what? I know him well. Outstanding amateur career and a pretty good pro career. And again, no one thought he would have a chance against Conor Benn in enemy territory in the UK, but he took him to the limit. He did lose it by decision, but Peter Dobson is not playing here, my friends. This is going to be a good fight on the zone also in Philadelphia on Saturday night, and we'll be monitoring that. Talk more about it next week. All right. Roman Chocolito Gonzalez. He's returning to the ring. He's returning also, homecoming in Nicaragua, where he's from. Bantamweight, trying for 4 titles and trying for another title in 5 weight classes. That comes Saturday night in Nicaragua versus Robert Barrera. You can see that on ESPN Plus. And for Roman Chocolito Gonzalez, in his 30s, still has it, looking to make boxing history. One of the little guys in the sport that provides excitement all the time. That's on ESPN Plus on Saturday night. Undefeated Fernando Martinez, the unified WBA and IBF super featherweight title holder with Kazuto Okada of Japan. That will be coming up as well. So we are hitting the summer season in boxing, and we are getting to the fall part in a matter of a month and a half or so. And then you'll see who Canelo Alvarez faces next in September as part of his 2-fight type of deals he does every year. Canelo Alvarez at 168 continues to be, to many, the face of the sport, and will probably get Edgar Berlanga, the Puerto Rican product native, as a WBA mandatory in September. And that hasn't been officially announced yet or signed. We should know soon what Canelo's next move is. There's a lot of talk. It might not be Berlanga, who's a mandatory at WBA, though Berlanga is saying it's going to be him. So we'll see where that comes up in September. All right. We're going to take a brief break, and when we come back, we're going to go to our guest. I have an interesting guest, a longtime colleague in the business of mine, who just came out with a great book, and I don't know if many of you remember Sports Phone when I grew up, and probably many of you don't because it's past, it was another generation. But it was an interesting way to get your latest scores and boxing results as well. Howie Karpin will join me on the program in a moment. I'll also test him with my Fact of the Week. A lot more to come here on Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, Jabronis United, and String Punk Entertainment. X, formerly Twitter, on social media, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. That's where you get me. More Keep It in the Ring after this brief timeout, and then we'll get to Howie Karpin. Stay with us.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
I'm Rich Mancuso. Welcome back to Keep It in the Ring, the first half hour. Some of the boxing recaps and what's to come this weekend. Like, comment, and subscribe. I am waiting here. He's Howie Karpin is going to be my guest. We're going to try and line him up and talk about his book, 976-1313, How Sports Phone Started. Back then, before social media and all that other stuff that we have today with technology, we went to Sports Phone to get the latest scores and even the boxing results and news and recaps. I could tell you I was a part of that briefly in my career. Howie Karpin is one of the originals from the Sports Phone family. Has been a colleague of mine for 40 years or more in this business. He's very much involved with baseball. He's a columnist with me on sportsday.com. And what he does is he's the official scorer, one of the official scorers for Major League Baseball, especially in the New York area. I mean, he wrote an interesting book with his colleague, Scott Orgara, and we have an image of the book. Scott, put it up. There it is. It's available at Barnes & Noble, your bookstores, and also on you can get it on eBay, not eBay, Amazon, and it is a great book. I want to talk to Howie about it. I'm hoping that he's logging on. I told him 8:28, 8:30, and we're almost there. But let me fill you in a little bit about this book and talk to Howie. Hopefully, if he comes on, know more about it. Sports Phone was an original in its own. And when you were young, and there he is. Well, now I don't have to talk about it because there he is, my friend, Howie Karpin. Welcome in, my friend.
What's up, buddy? Good to be with you.
Good. Thank you for being here, Howie. I was trying to fill in the fans a little bit about Sports Phone, 976-1313. Great book, good read, well done, great stories. And, of course, this was where you got your scores and even your boxing information way back then before the internet and everything else, Howie. Congratulations. Great book. And how did this all come about?
Well, my co-author, Scott Orgara, was the one who really, pushed for it. There was always talk of doing a book about it. A number of people brought it up. And as you've gone through it and you see the alumni list is just unbelievable. And, the stories are great. And there was a lot that went into it. I mean, it was the pioneer. It's what you have today. Digital, everything digitally basically started there. You got your sports on the phone. You called up, you got a sports report. It was updated every 10 minutes. You had the latest scores. It's fascinating going through the interviews and putting it together, how people relied on Sports Phone for their sports information, how people went to sleep early and didn't stay up for the West Coast games for the locals like the Yankees and the Mets. Then they'd get up in the morning and call sports phone to get their scores.
I being one of them. Yeah, do that. And a lot of us had to reach into our pocket if the home phone, the old rotary, the phone, we used to use at home, a telephone was busy. We couldn't use it. And we needed the scores. We ran to the corner and put a dime or whatever it was into the box and called sports phone real rapid to get the scores before gambling became such a big thing in sports, online gambling and such. But you guys gave the scores rapidly, and some of the stories you have in this book are incredible. Tell me how, this is a boxing program and such, but you can tell us some stories as you covered boxing in your career as well, and you know boxing. You have some boxing tidbits in this book, even about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, well, that's one of the stories later in the book. There are actually two stories about Ali. The first one was when he was in the Bahamas about to fight Trevor Berbick. I think it was 81. And we had a guy who worked for us who we called the boxing maven. His name was Pat Harris. He was very knowledgeable. Not as knowledgeable as you, of course, but he was very up on boxing. And I suggested that he call, we actually tried to call Trevor Berbick, originally, because we didn't think we could get Ali, and we ended up getting Ali on the phone. It was like unbelievable that we got him, and he actually took time out to speak with us, and it was such a thrill, for Pat and myself. I mean, Pat did the interview, and then we ended up with some great sound from the champ. Just to talk to him, hear his voice. That was one story, and then there was another one with a guy named Mike Weinstein, who called Ali when he was in the hospital a few years later. I think it was 1984. And reached him at the hospital bed, and he actually talked to him there, and he was so enlightening. And Mike basically sold the sound from Sports Phone that night. We got it first on our air. We treated Sports Phone like a radio station, so that's why we did our interviews. It's funny, we put the reports on the phone, but we also did our interviews on the phone. So Mike got a hold of Ali, and Ali actually called us back and talk to us some more.
Wow.
Even though he was in the hospital. So
that's fascinating.
What a thrill that was to get him on the phone and to get sound from Muhammad Ali on Sports Phone.
And what was that conversation about?
Well, the first one was about the fight with Trevor Berbick. I think you would know better than me. That was one of his last fights.
Yes, it was.
The upcoming one in the Bahamas.
That's when he took too many punches towards the end, where he shouldn't have been in there to take more punches, which they say caused his Parkinson's syndrome that contributed to it. Well, we don't know if we can believe that totally, but yeah, that was one of the finales for him.
And then the second one was basically about his health at the time when he was starting to deteriorate and why he was in the hospital and everything. And then there was a little reflection on his career in the second interview with Mike Weinstein, and that was like a thrill. He talked about certain fights in his career. You and I grew up on Muhammad Ali, when he was in his heyday, and, the Ali Frazier fight in 71, of course, we'll never forget. And, the Rumble in the jungle and all those, great fights. It was such a great time for boxing, and it just wish young people could realize, young boxing fans.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't.
What we had at that time.
That's right. Sport has changed dramatically, and they don't realize how illustrious that was in the history behind all of that. How were you guys able to load an interview like that? You didn't have the technology we have today. How were you able to do that? Give us a little background how that was done.
Well, the studios were at 919 3rd Avenue. Well, on the corner there is actually P.J. Clark's, the famous bar restaurant. We had like one floor had little like closet type booths where we did the updates. Now you'd go into your booth. We had a central person that handled the scores, because we had a Chicago and Detroit office. we would conference every 10 minutes. They would cover a lot of games from Chicago and Detroit. New York would have their list of games, and every 10 minutes we'd have a conference call on a toll-free line to exchange the scores, and then you go in and do your report. Now, when you went into the booth, you had to dial in a certain number, and you got, cue beeps that would lead you. It was a 3-step process. You dialed in the number, you got your first beep, then you had to dial in a couple of codes, then you got your second beep, and then it'd be a number and an asterisk that you'd hit, and that would be your third beep to go. When the beep ended, you went and you did your update. Now, it was a minute, but it really wasn't a whole minute. It was really 51 seconds because you had to say your name in the beginning. We had other lines where we used to have news and other scores when there were too many scores to get on one sports phone update. So we'd have to promo that line. And then at the end, we had a catchphrase called "Stay with us." So that took up about a total of 7 seconds. So you ended up.
How many of us use that term in this business? Stay with us. I use it all the time.
Yeah, that was our catchphrase. It became known for us for sports.
It was, yeah. That Howie Karpin, the great co-author of 976-133, How Sports Phone Launched Careers, Broke New Ground, many in this business. In this book, the people that the names that come out of sports phone, some of them called boxing. I have to look again, but I know that there's an illustrious list of alumni in the business that come out of sports phone. And you just mentioned Pat Harris as one of them, who I knew, but there's a few others on that list as well. I'm still interested to see now. Back then, and I remember, I started in this business till 1980 or so. And I remember when I used to file stories, I had a phone by I'd ringside or whatever. You had guys covering fights for sports phone, or at least got the result and gave it out right away. And if you weren't able to get the fight on TV, which still was a part of boxing history, boxing always had fights on television back then, but fans would call sports phone to find out what a Muhammad Ali did or someone else did.
Yeah, if we were fortunate enough to have a stringer at a boxing match, they would call round by round. So we had the latest updates, before anybody. Speaking of boxing, I got started in my career with someone who was very well known in boxing at the time, and his name was Art Rush Jr., who was very involved in boxing. Remember, Art was big on boxing in those days. Yeah. In fact, he took me to a fight at the Nassau Coliseum, and I got to sit ringside for Jerry Cooney and Ken Norton. The fight that lasted like 30 seconds. 30
seconds, yep.
Something like that, yeah.
Not one to be remembered. Yeah, Art was a great boxing guy. He let him rest in peace, been gone from us a long time. But, that was one of his top sports, Howie. Yeah, it was one of his top
boxing guy. He knew a lot of the boxers. I think he knew Ali and he knew Joe Frazier.
He knew Ali and Frazier real well.
He knew all the names, and he took me to and I sat ringside for the first time. It was quite a thrill to see. The main event was Cooney Norton. I don't know who was on the undercard, but we saw like 3-4 fights that night.
And your reflections on all of that. I know that you follow the sport. You're a big baseball guy, as I am as well, but you still follow the sport because you talk to me about it at the ballpark or wherever we're together. Back then, boxing was really strong. You would see the headlines in the back page of your newspaper. Ali would get front page headlines. You knew right away who the heavyweight champion was. You and I have discussed this, and guys in the business that you and I work with tell me all the time, including our mutual friend Ricky Ricardo, who's on WFAN and so forth, says to me the sport is dead. I don't agree with that. Now, I want to get your perspective on that. Do you think the sport of boxing is dead? And be honest with me. I can take a punch. Go ahead.
I don't think it's dead, but it certainly lacks the personalities that used to dominate it in the old days. It doesn't get the same attention that it once did because one, you have all these alphabet, organizations.
Exactly.
People don't know left from right. They don't know who the real champ is.
That's what it is. Yeah.
You couldn't name the heavyweight champion right now. At least most people could.
No, you can't. No, I can. I could tell you right now, and you know how much I write about the sport as well, but I have to look it up. And I know the sport, and I love the sport. And I have to look up who the champion is for each division because you got titles all over the place. Alphabet soup, I call it. And yeah, that's a major issue, no doubt about it. And it needs to be reformed with that.
Yeah, we don't have the Sugar Ray Leonards or the Marvin Haglers, those guys, Tommy Hearns. You lack the personalities right now in the sport, so it doesn't sell to people who are still boxing fans.
And that's a major, major problem with the sport. And they continually don't address this issue. That's why we need reform. Not like the other sports. Boxing doesn't have a national boxing commission. And they need that. They need somebody who can reform and unify. And they just won't get it done. And it has to be done. What other reflections about sports film beyond boxing that you can tell us? Again, a terrific book, 976-1313, How Sports Film Launched Careers and Before New Ground. Here it is again. I have it. I was one of the first to get it. Howie autographs all his books. Howie, you've written so many books. Maybe you can, and we talk about it. I have to write a book about boxing, and you're going to help me with that. Right. You've become the Bert Sugar of writing books. You put books out like Bert Sugar did. It seems like every few months you have another book coming out. And that's a credit to you because you've been in this business as long as me, and you're better than me. I will always say that. But what other tidbits can you give us briefly about the book that you might want to share?
Well, just the stories. I mean, the experiences that I had, not just me, but a lot of people who came through there. Like you mentioned, the list of alumni. I mean, it's unbelievable. Howie Rose, Gary Cohn, Steve Cangelosi, Steve Torrey, Pat Harris. I mean, you name it. People in the business now that have done well. Linda Cohn, who's on ESPN, she worked there for a long time. I mean, people got their start there, and they basically trained, to be what they are today. Thanks to Sports Fun. You didn't have a written script when you did your score updates. You had a slate full of scores, but you were ad-libbing as you went along, and you got your skills with ad-libbing by working at Sports Fun because, it wasn't word for word. You didn't read it word for word. You had to read numbers, and you had to go down the list of the scores as you went along, unless you were working like in the afternoon when we did have like more news updates, more newsy type features and things like that, where you did have a little bit of a script. But I was blessed with the ability to ad-lib, and I was able to refine that at Sports Phone. And so did a lot of people who ended up in the sports business. They got their start there, and they appreciate what they went through there, the kind of training they got and the experiences. I mean, we had some great discussions in that newsroom, because people were serious about their sports. They tried to run it like a radio station, and basically they succeeded in kind of doing that.
It did, yeah. And also, you had wrestling updates as well. And they did
the
that.
Wrestling line, yeah.
Yeah. And that expanded into other cities around the country as well, including Las Vegas. Jim Feist had a line like that. I worked for him when I was out there a little bit and did wrestling updates for him back then. Howie, before I let you go, and you plug the book again as much as you want, and where fans could reach you, are you ready for the fact of the week with me? Every guest who comes on the show with me, whether it be boxing, wrestling, MMA, or even you got to get the fact of the week. I give it to you, and you take it's not trivia, it's a fact. You ready?
Go ahead.
You don't seem enthused, my friend.
Wait, you got me up against the ropes.
Well, yeah. Well, look, I'm not going to knock you out, but this is something up your alley. It's got a little baseball in it, okay? Specifically for you, all right? Now, I want you. It's not trivia. Again, it's a fact, but this was a ball player with 17 seasons in Major League Baseball, All right. Rookie of the Year, an MVP, a 6-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. All right. And a few other ball players, when they retired, went from baseball into combat sport, whether it be boxing or the martial arts. And this guy did. He wasn't successful at it. Now, if I give you the teams he played for, you're going to know who it is. If you want me to do that, I will.
Yeah, go ahead.
He played for the A's and he played for the Yankees at some point. All right. 17 seasons, Rookie of the Year, an MVP, 6-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion with the A's and the Yankees. He went from baseball, and then he tried boxing and martial arts. Didn't succeed at it, but it was well known. Scott, do you know who it is?
Yes, and actually somebody who I believe had a baseball bounce off his head for a home run once.
Howie, do you know who it is? It's Jose Canseco.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. If you remember, he tried it and didn't work out well. Mr. Controversy.
He won a World Series with the Yankees too, of all things too.
Yeah, right.
2000. Yep.
Yeah. And Howie, I know he was one of your favorite ball players as well.
You know, I got to call an error on him, and the only time he played in the field for the Yankees.
Wow.
The only game ever.
That's why he loved you so much.
Yeah, he did.
Howie Karpin, my buddy for 42 years or more in this business. He's an official scorer of Major League Baseball, columnist, NewYorkSportsDay.com, Sirius XM Radio, and a renowned author now. Here he co-authors with Scott or Jara. Me with names botched up.
By the way, there's a website that people can go to.
Go ahead.
976-1313.com. Scott did a terrific job putting that together. I implore people to go there and check it out, especially if they're interested in sports phone, and they can find on the website where to order. And there's a lot of good stuff that goes into the background of the book. Scott did a great job with that website. Yes,
the both of you did with this book as well. Informative, very interesting tidbits and stories. And if you knew 976-1313 as I did growing up, you love it even more. And if you didn't, you want to learn from this. Great job, Howie. Congratulations. How do fans reach you as well?
I'm on X or Twitter. I still call Twitter at my name, Howie Karpin. And I'm also on Facebook. And let me just say, if you're a young person who didn't know anything about sports phone, but you're interested in getting into the sports media business, the book will inform you on how other people did it and maybe give you a couple ideas of how you want to go about it if you're really interested in working in sports media. As Rich knows, it's not the easiest business to function in. And, both of us have lasted, which is a credit to both of us that we've lasted this long in the business, because a lot of people drop out at some point or it just doesn't work out. So if you're interested in getting into sports media, I would advise you to read this book and see how people did it.
Well said, Howie. And the reason why still in this business so long, me and you, is because we're fighters. That's why. We're fighters. And we're both from the Bronx as well. Remember that.
Right.
All right. Howie Karpin, see you at the ballpark. Thank you, my friend. Keep it in the ring.
All right, buddy. Keep up the good work. Thanks. My pleasure.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. That's Howie Karpin, 976-1313. How sports phone launched careers and much more and broke a new ground. And that was great. There's some boxing stories in there that I hope you enjoyed as well. All right, we'll move on now and keep it in the ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. X, formerly Twitter, Ring 786. You get me, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. It's all scrolled to the bottom of the screen, including the upcoming fight calendar for this weekend and the weeks ahead. Let's move on and go into the pro wrestling segment of Keep It in the Ring. And a lot of that. And I want to talk about Money in the Bank, WWE, in the aftermath. There she is, Tiffany Stratton. As predicted, talking Tiffany. She is talking Tiffany. She's the Money in the Bank champion. Where does she take the briefcase? How long? Money in the Bank has become a pay-per-view or a premium event of WWE on Peacock that might be out the window soon because, where do they go with the briefcase? Who cashes it in? How long? But Tiffany has a shot now with any of the women's titles, even in NXT. I predicted that. And yeah, that was a great ladder match with her. But Tiffany, well-deserved. She had been getting the push. And it's also the botch pin with Seth Rollins and Damien Priest that everyone keeps talking about out of Money in the Bank. But it's also leading to CM Punk. Could it be triple threat with CM Punk, Rollins, and McIntyre? It could be leading to that. That's becoming a very interesting feud now. Rollins and Punk are involved. McIntyre won the briefcase, then lost it, trying to cash it in because of CM Punk's interference, as you know. Well played out. Good theater for WWE. Money in the Bank was, to me, a great success out of Toronto. Set type of gate records up there as well. The Bloodline dominated again. And so was Sokoa leading up to the SummerSlam match, obviously, with Cody Rhodes. This Bloodline angle with Paul Heyman out of the picture, though, he's put this all together with Triple H at a creative. Yeah, this just keeps getting stronger and stronger and suspenseful more and more because we're waiting for Roman Reigns to return. In the meantime, Soa Sokoa is going to go after Cody Rhodes to the title. Soa Sokoa, as you know, says he is the leader, that he is the tribal chief, and they'll set up the two factions eventually. There'll be this group, that group. Who's going to be a part of Roman Reigns' part of this to say he's the tribal chief? It's going to build up. It's going to be more into SummerSlam and thereafter, maybe going into WrestleMania, but Roman Reigns will return. I think they're going to wait until SummerSlam before you see Reigns return, but good match there with also with Sami Zayn also and Brock Breaker. And Braun Breaker is becoming the Brock Lesnar version in WWE. And then there's this. Mami's return on Monday Night Raw. Caught me off by surprise. And she's after Liv Morgan. And now she's got something really she is bitter with Dominic Mysterio. This is going to cause more division with, Damien Priest is probably going to leave Judgment Day. You could see that coming, that he's already made reference to Dom Mysterio and saying that your father was right about you. And Rhea Ripley now officially becomes a face. And where does this go? We just can't wait for Monday Night Raw Monday to see the aftermath of this. Mommy's back. Dom's got something to worry about. It's going to lead to Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley probably fighting for Dom, or Ripley, Morgan, and Dom getting involved with the two of them. But I think the faction here of they're breaking up. You could see a division going on here with all of them. Welcome back, Mommy. Good to see you. Rhea Ripley. And John Cena officially with his retirement tour coming up. This we thought was coming, but not the way they're going to do it. It's going to be done for a whole year leading up to next year's WrestleMania and after. Could Cena become a 17-time world champ in WWE? Could be leading to that. Cena will be retiring. He's going to have a retirement tour. And you're going to see him at the Royal Rumble in January. And maybe as soon as the Survivor Series in November. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and after that. He's going to be a part of WWE for at least another year. Retirement tour, well-deserved. Will he become a 17-time champion and then retire? Let's see how that spans out. Great career of John Cena. Great fan favorite. It continues for another year, but it's official, retiring, as you all know. AEW. Wow. All In. They're setting up for All In Wembley in October 25th on pay-per-view. MJF and Will Ospreay, that's coming, or is it MJF and Swerve? He's after the title. MJF is more of a vicious heel than he ever was. Saw it again on Dynamite last night. But they're all setting up for All In at Wembley on August 25th. And I like what's going on in AEW, despite the low ratings and the low attendance crowds. AEW seems to be getting hot this summer. And more so, you saw this last night. You saw Chris Jericho and you saw Samoa Joe go at it. That was vicious. Jericho is really good as a heel. And it showed again what he did to Samoa Joe. He took the, what was it? The plow, the driver, the mole, whatever that is. And they just put him through a wall. Really vicious show on Dynamite last night. And then you saw this. Talk about blood. You don't see the even the WWE divas of female division get this bloody and messy. But last night on Dynamite, there are two top females here go into the Owen Hart tournament and the final. And you saw it. Finally. You saw Mariah May turning on Toni Storm, the champion, because May won the Owen Cup tournament. She's in the final, and she's going to face Toni Storm. And at the end, she went nuts. And Mariah May really did a blade job that I have not seen from a female in AEW. I haven't seen that yet. Good part of AEW last night was seeing that as they closed their show, leading up to that All In, the next big pay-per-view coming up August 25th from Wembley, where there'll be 80,000 more wrestling fans, so they say, at All In. So great job by Tony Khan and AEW last night. They're trying to make a good comeback. That might have been started on Dynamite last night. Even Bryan Danielson against Paige and becoming a winner of the Owen Hart Cup tournament and moving on to the final at AEW All In. All right, take a quick break and then wrap it up with the nostalgia and talk about next week and so forth, back and forth. I'm Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe. My channel on YouTube, Facebook, Jabronis United, and, of course, Stream Punk Entertainment. Back after this brief time out, nostalgia time. Keep it in the ring, my friends. Stay with us.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.
Yes, Pandemonium is coming October 12th. ACW, the rematches will be there. More about that in the weeks and months ahead here on Keep It in the Ring and on Jabronis United and String Punk Entertainment. So look out for that. Tell you more. We're going to have some of the superstars of that next card, October 12th, on the program in the weeks to come. So stay tuned, my friends. All right. Nostalgia time on Keep It in the Ring. Every week we do this. We look back in the past with boxing, an epic match or whatever in boxing history. I know you like it. I enjoy doing this as much as you like hearing it. All right. We go back to July 12th, 1986. There he is, the Hall of Famer, Evander Holyfield, defeated Dwight Muhammad Ali by split decision for the WBA then cruiserweight title in Atlanta, Georgia, Holyfield's hometown. Holyfield, of course, the heavyweight champion and the first member of the member of the 1984 U.S. Olympic team to win, and you know he was the first member to win the gold then. I was a part of that 84 Olympics in Los Angeles and knew Holyfield real well and that whole team. And I'm going to talk about that as we get into the Paris Olympics in the next few weeks. That's coming up. And I'm going to reflect about because that was the last Olympic boxing team to achieve all that gold. And that was a great team. Many of them went on to become successful pros and champions in the sport. But Evander Holyfield and Dwight Muhammad Ali back in 1986, had a great match. Of course, Holyfield defended the title in a rematch with Ali in December of 1987. You know, Dwight Muhammad Ali, he was a name And he was an interesting fighter because he'd fight like that inside, and he would brawl with you. Holyfield as well would come out of that brawl and do his punching. And he did here against White Muhammad Ali, July 12th, 1986. We closed the book on on nostalgia this week. More of that next week as Evander Holyfield, the Hall of Famer, achieved many things in boxing history. All right, my friends, that's a wrap this week for Keep It in the Ring. I want to thank Howie Karpin once again for coming on. His book again, 976-1313, along with Scott Orgrega, How Sports Phone Originated, the careers of many, and great stories. Pick it up, Barnes & Noble and on Amazon.com. You can get it. Great read. And thank you, Howie, again. He's been a colleague of mine for years. I'll see him at the ballpark probably tomorrow night once again. Next week, stay with us because I'm going to line someone up. Who it will be, I don't know. But we'll do more about Mia. Mami's back in WWE and where she goes with Dominic Mysterio. It's Judgment Day. Looks like they might be breaking up. And we'll recap the homecoming for Gerard Boots Ennis in Philadelphia this Saturday night at the Wells Fargo Center. Matchroom Boxing on the Zone and Peter Dobson, part of the undercard co-main event. And that's going to be an interesting fight for Peter Dobson coming off his loss. And a good fight, though, against Conor Benn. So stay in touch with us all week here at Keep It in the Ring. My Facebook page also, and also on X, formerly Twitter, Ring786, Facebook.com, Rich Mancuso. Like, comment, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, Rich Mancuso, as always, and also at Jabronis United and String Punk Entertainment. Thank you, Scott Churston, once again. Great hour. Thanks for putting up with me. He puts this all together every week and puts up with me every week. And to you, my fans and followers and supporters, always, I'm very appreciative of your continued support for this program and everything else I do. My writing on LatinoSports.com, NewYorkSportsDay.com, and other outlets. Find me, of course, on my social media. Until next week, everyone. First of all, if you're in the hot zone of this country like we are in New York and everywhere else, stay cool. Be good to each other. Stay well. Most of all, God bless. Until next week, this is Keep It in the Ring. I'm Rich Mancuso. Thank you. See you next week.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.